Hi, I'm David Vilt. I'm a battalion chief for the Queen Creek Fire and Medical Department. I was the incident commander on a large house fire where we experienced a Mayday with one of our members. Just a little bit about me. I've been in the fire service for 14 years. I got promoted in April of 23, so been doing about 8 months. At the time of this incident, I was a battalion chief for 2 months. It was a very formative experience for me. I grew as an incident commander and as a person. And I'm excited for this opportunity to share with you and the Valley some of my takeaways and our lessons learned from this incident. A little bit of overview of what we're going to talk about here. First of all, I'm going to share a video that's 12 minutes long. That's a overview of the radio traffic and some photos and video that were taken from engineers that were out front, as well as we were able to obtain police body cam footage, which was proved invaluable. A few of them were standing still long enough to give us some really good footage of some smoke conditions. Then I'll break down our initial assignments that we had. I'm going to talk about the building and some of the features of that building that presented challenges, as well as speaking about our smoke conditions that we had initially, and then how we were seeing those smoke conditions with some findings from our fire investigator. And then I'll break down the Mayday, talk about why the Mayday happened, how it happened, and talk about the response to it from a task level and also from a command level. And then we'll break down some of our lessons learned over a few slides. So here's that video.
What is the address of your emergency?
It's 21524 East Camacho Road. My house is on fire, man.
All right, 21524 East Camacho Road.
Yes.
In Queen Creek. Okay, you got flames?
I do, man. I do. It's all bad.
All right. Is it a two-story house, one-story?
It's a two-story, man.
Okay.
It's on fire, man. I got to tell you, it looks like it's in the attic.
You think it started in the attic? Okay. All right.
Units en route to the house fire at 2152.
Battalion 411 to alarm.
Battalion 411.
I see smoke. Start a worker fire.
I copy. Upgrade to working fire.
Battalion 411 to alarm on B3.
Battalion 411.
Battalion 411 is on scene of the dispatched address. We have a large single-story residence, typical tract home construction. Battalion 411 is going to have command stationary just south. We're going to be in the offensive strategy. It does appear we have a working attic fire. We have smoke out of all around the building under the bird blocks. I'm going to have my BSO go forward and get a primary from the homeowner. Command to engine 414. Engine 414. Hey Joe, I'm going to make you interior sector. Make entry. Give me a primary all clear. Search rescue fire control. Engine 414 copies. Interior. Engine 3 for search rescue fire tag. Going interior with a part of 3. We laid in. Command to alarm.
Command.
We have an all clear per the homeowner.
Alarm copies. All clear per the homeowner at 0519.
Ladder 411 to command. Ladder 411.
Forward a little bit more. I'm going to have you remain ladder 411. I want you to get me a 360, secure utilities, and a building profile. Command to engine 413. 413, go ahead. Go ahead and lay in that second supply line, and let me know as soon as that's complete, and I'll give you an assignment. Engine 413 copies, bringing that second supply line. Command to interior.
Go ahead.
Give me a progress report.
Command.
I just want to go to the front door. Doing it. Right entry with a positive. I have no heat, but good. Going almost to the floor.
Copy. And no heat, smoke almost to the floor. You need to get up in the attic and check it out. Command to alarm.
Command.
Balance on the first alarm. Command to interior.
Interior, go ahead.
Looks like smoke production is picking up. We need to get a report on the interior. We may have to change strategies.
Interior, copy. We're looking at home by the front door. I can feel a heat out right inside the front door. Line 411, command.
Command.
360 complete. This is the basement home. It's going to be a basement. It looks like somewhere on the east side. Organized. We do have a swimming pool in the backyard.
Ran back to ladder 411. Can you see where the fire is coming from, or is it all over this attic?
Looks like most of the production is going to be on this middle portion of the building.
Command.
I see you got fire brothers. We're just inside the front door.
I copy. Do you think you can get water on it, or do you think we need to change tactics?
411 command, utilities are secured. There is gas to the structure as well.
I copy. You've secured utilities. There's gas to the structure. Command to Battalion 251. Battalion 251. Obviously, I'm going to make you safety. Come forward. I'm kind of marginal here. We haven't got any water on the fire yet, to my knowledge, and we've got increasing smoke production. I'm blocked here from some of the view. I need your assessment to see if we're going to change strategy.
Battalion 251, copies. We'll be assuming safety here. We'll be going forward. We'll get you a good 360 in the report. 411 command.
Command.
Yeah, we do have smoke pushing out on all sides. Most of the smoke production is going to be on the west side, center towards the front of the building.
I copy. Most of the smoke production is going to be on the west side towards the front of the building. So is that kind of going to be over the garage?
Going to be over the center of the home, front door. And we are starting to have some of these black smoke coming from the front door area. If they haven't got water on this, I don't think they're going to catch it this time.
Copy. I agree. Engine 412, come forward. You're going to be on deck. Pull a second line off engine 413. You'll be on deck.
Both copies, come forward, pull second line off 413. Be on deck.
Commander Interior. Are you making any progress?
We're stuck in the front door.
All right. We're going to go defensive. Go ahead and pull out.
415.
Command alarm.
Command.
We're going to be changing strategy to defensive. Found emergency traffic. Command to all units on the fire ground. We're changing strategy to defensive. I need everybody to exit the structure and give me a par on your exit.
Interior command, exited with a par of 6.
I copy. You've exited with a par of 6. You have your crew and the crew of engine 415. Is that correct?
That's affirmative.
Last sector calling command.
Charlie sector, ladder 219. I'm going to request an additional line. I'd like it to come over the fence on the east side of the structure. I've got a bird board attack I think we can do on this east side. Also, I've got clear wells, no active fire shown in the basement from the exterior of the structure.
I copy. You're requesting a second line, preferably come over from the east wall, and there's no fire activity in the basement.
Okay, command.
Command.
Okay, so after doing a reassessment of where we're at, we do have really good changes in the attic space. We do have some slight smoke production. I think we can start moving cautiously into the structure. Maybe we just start inside the interior of the garage spaces and inside the front door until we get a good understanding of how much of the attic space is damaged.
I copy. We're getting some good knockdown on the fire, and you feel comfortable with cautiously starting to move the interior, starting with just inside the garage, till we get an idea of just how extensive the attic has been hit. And you feel comfortable with cautiously starting to move the interior, starting with just inside the garage, till we get an idea of just how extensive the attic has been hit. Command copies. Merlick's fallen into the basement. Command to alarm.
Command.
We have a Mayday on the fire ground. Upgrade to a second alarm. Command to engine 415.
415.
I'm going to make you rescue sector.
Copy, rescue.
Command to Captain Mertlich. Captain Mertlich, can you give me a status of how you are and where you are in the building?
I'm good. I'm about 10 feet inside the front door. We need a roof on it. Attic ladder wanted to exit up.
I copy. You just need an attic ladder, and you can get up. We'll get you an attic ladder.
South Sector Command.
Command.
South Sector Command, we got a ladder going interior for him. Left out a hose line down there for him.
I copy. Well, there's a hose line down for him. He's okay, and we're getting the ladder to him. Command to all units on the fire ground. Our strategy is remaining defensive. Nobody is to go interior after the Mayday firefighter's been recovered. Command.
The two hose lines in place. We're fighting fire. I also have a well opening with a ladder on the southeast corner of the structure. If they can make their way to the east structure, it's a bedroom. I've got a clear, no fire room with a well opening for that firefighter. Here, command, priority traffic.
Go ahead.
We have reports of our firefighter being rescued. He's out of the basement. We're coming out the front door now.
I copy. The firefighter has been recovered, and he's outside now. Command to all units on the fire ground. Stand by for PARS. Command to alarm.
Command.
Our Mayday has been resolved. They made it to the exterior. We're going to be doing PARS.
Alarm copies. Mayday has been resolved. Getting ready for PARS at 0553.
Onto our initial assignments that we had. As we saw in the video, I was the first unit on scene, and I staged there on the property to the south in the driveway, backed in like we usually do, and kind of angled ourselves towards the building so we had a good view. Engine 414 was the first engine on scene. He laid in a supply and pulled a line to the front door. I assigned them interior sector. Second unit on scene, as you saw, they had a beautiful view of the home, which I had previously, staged right here. I made them, kept them ladder 411, had them get a 360 screw utilities and a building profile for me. Engine 415 got their second. They pulled a second line off 414, and I backed up interior sector with them, so they were second crew interior. And then 412, or 413 rather, they laid in a supply line, and I put them over on the west side of the home. It looked like most of the smoke production was coming from that side. So, and this is our assignments along with engine 412. I had them on deck with rescue. Pulled a second line off there. I remember pulling out of the station and recounting to my BSO that I didn't have a good feeling about this call. We're wiping sleep from our eyes at about 5 a.m. And he's like, okay, we'll be careful. You know, I knew it was going to be something significant. Just my gut was telling me before we even got on scene. So from here, after these assignments, it got pretty crazy, as you can imagine, with 2 alarms of units coming. But these are our initial assignments. So let's talk about the building and some of the features and challenges that it presented. It was over 4,000 square feet, single story, with a basement. And the basement was covering roughly half of the footprint of the house. It was lightweight construction, as to be expected, around 2008 when this building was constructed. It had window wells on the north and east sides of the building. One of the window wells, only one of the window wells, was actually exposed to the fire room itself down in the basement. The other window wells on the north side and on the east side, they were all behind closed doors in rooms in a gym or a bedroom. And those rooms were actually impeccably intact when we went afterwards. I think it's a testament to really how interior doors being closed saves lives. They looked untouched almost for the most part. Also of note is that window well that was in the fire room never failed. Our fire investigator noted that they were very high quality windows on the house and probably like triple paned or something, and they never failed even though there was a very intense fire burning right next to it. Also of note is the subfloor covering the large span of the basement was open web joists. Looked a little bit something like this. So as you can imagine, fire would get into that and it was able to spread very quickly. So here is our initial smoke conditions. Initially, while we're driving in, we missed a turn briefly, so we had to make a tactical U-turn. And when we did, I was able to see smoke from the north side of the house as we were making that U-turn. And I saw smoke was pumping out all around the house under the bird blocks, and also pumping out on the top of the roof on all of the roof tile vents. There was like 10 or so vents that were on this house. So you can see there was smoke pumping out all around. And I did remember noting when I showed up on scene that the smoke appeared to come out of the bird blocks and fall instead of lift, which led me to think that the smoke had traveled quite a ways. I didn't know that it was traveling all the way from the basement at the time. But that was a clue that should have cued me in. But it was kind of a cooler morning, and I didn't think too much of it. So here's a photo that was provided to our fire investigator from the homeowner. It shows the room where the point of origin was and where our Mayday firefighter ended up falling into. The fire investigator pinpointed the point of origin to roughly this area inside the house. There was, as you can see on the left side there, you can see part of it. There's a industrial popcorn machine that he had down there. This is kind of his man cave where you watch movies and stuff, as well as a stereo and a subwoofer and a fluorescent light that was laying on the carpet. And also, he also had some various like butane torches and lighters and stuff for smoking that he had down in the basement also. Down the hallway, there was an air return that would have pumped smoke all throughout the basement once the air conditioner turned on. And then right here above the point of origin is an air vent. And our fire investigator noted with the type of flexible ducting that's in the subfloor and in the attic, once it reached about 250 degrees, that ductwork would have failed. And we believe this is the point where the fire got into the subfloor and started spreading all across the span from this point. As you'll see in a later photo, the floor appeared to fall first in this location and spreading to the south and west. Also of note in this room is wrapped entirely in a thick vinyl, like wallpaper material, all the walls and the ceiling, which would have really added to a lot of heat and products of combustion being released as that was heated and broke down. So here's a picture after the collapse. And to orient you a little bit, you see a ladder in the background there, and you see the little fire symbol in the left corner. That's denoting where the point of origin was in the previous picture. And then behind the ladder, you see an open door and like half of a firefighter back there. It's about 15, 18 feet from the front door to the edge of where the collapse started. And then our Mayday firefighter fell about 12 feet there, which we'll talk more about that in a minute. But of note here, I want you to see the stairwell off to the right. And this stairwell, as the heat built, it would have risen up and found this spot here and would have started to rise up into the first floor, into the ground floor. And there's an air return, like in the basement above the point of origin, there's an air return right above the stairs. So as you can imagine, like a chimney, the superheated gases are coming and ripping up these stairs. It would have defeated that ductwork in that air return at about 250 degrees, which wouldn't have taken long for that to occur. And then all that smoke that was burning in the basement was getting pumped up into the attic at that point. And of note, the air conditioner was on, and so when the heat got picked up, the air handlers would have ran for quite a while before they were overcome with heat themselves, which was giving us the impression of some pressurized smoke coming out of the attic. So here's some shots from the outside. This is just showing how important door control is and showing how fast smoke conditions started to change. So luckily, this officer was standing very still, and it was all time-stamped. You saw this briefly in the video. But when they made entry, not a lot of smoke coming out. 5 seconds, 20 seconds, you can see at a minute, it really started moving. Our total time from when they made entry to when we went defensive was just about 7 minutes. Here's video from the command post of what the smoke was looking like at just after 2 minutes. And then here is us prior to going defensive. And so, as you can see, my view is blocked, so I'm not getting anything else. My reports weren't the greatest, but my brain is sort of filling in the gaps that my imagination's kind of filling in where I think this fire is coming from. And in my brain, I'm thinking, okay, the smoke is building. Maybe it's gotten through to some gable ends and it's really starting to pump out. Maybe we've had a little bit of roof collapse or burn through. And I was worried about the fire, or the roof rather, falling on interior crews. And so we pulled them out. So let's talk about the Mayday here. So the Mayday occurred 22 minutes after we were defensive. It really turned into a nothing call. We surrounded it. It was a loss. We had a primary per the homeowner, so we weren't worried about life safety. But one of the initial captains lost their helmet on the interior that I learned about after the fact when I did interviews. So their helmet was not secured properly to their head, and when he was hit with a hose stream, it fell off and he couldn't find it and never got it back. As you can imagine, this was embarrassing for that individual, I'm sure, and they want to get their helmet back. Nobody wants to admit they lost something. And so he asked another captain, hey, when you go back in, can you get my helmet? I'd like to have it back. And the other captain was like, hey, no problem. Hey, you know what? I'm just going to go in and grab it real quick. No big deal. It sounds like we might be going back inside anyway, because I did have a conversation with safety over the radio thinking, hey, we're going to be here a while. Can we be more effective hitting this if we go cautiously interior. So he heard that, I think, and was part of his decision making to go inside real quick and grab this helmet for him. There was a couple people standing at the doorway. As he went in and was looking, couldn't find it, and he was coached a little bit like, hey, I think it's just a little bit further back, and it's over there. So he disappeared into the smoke, and he ended up falling. So here's a picture, that same picture again, of the spans after the collapse, the point of origin, and the arrow pointing down there to the Mayday firefighter's helmet. And his helmet broke in the fall and failed. That's why it came off of his head. So the Mayday captain described to me in an interview about his experience, stating that he was looking back, trying to find the helmet. He knew we were defensive, but he was just trying to help a guy out. So he's walking down carefully, and all of a sudden he feels like he stepped on a piece of drywall or a piece of OSB, and it broke below him. And then he said he just became disoriented and didn't know where he was until right afterwards. He said it started getting really hot and he saw orange all around him. And it dawned on him that he had fallen into the basement. He recounted to me that he briefly thought for a minute, you know what? I'm just going to crawl out of here, find a window well, and nobody will ever know I fell. And he luckily came to his senses and thought to himself, I bet there's dead firefighters that thought the same thing. So I'm going to call the Mayday. So he did the right thing, called a Mayday. And his crew came to rush for him, and he sat at the bottom and was yelling, stop, don't come any further. So luckily nobody else fell into the basement. They saw him in his perilous situation. They saw the fire building. And so his crew was heads up, and they passed him down a hose line. And he used that hose line. Initially, he was going to try to climb out and realized that was not going to prove fruitful. So he used the hose line and started fighting fire to keep himself protected. A little bit later, a ladder was introduced and put down in the attic. He fell a couple times, tripped a couple times getting up and out, but finally he got out, and the Mayday was resolved with his own crew taking him out through the front door. Here's some other pictures of the Mayday from a couple different angles, from a different door. And the one on the right is from the hallway, looking where he would have walked. And you see that window well down on the bottom where the window's still intact, amazingly. Here's a piece of the subfloor that did not collapse. As you can see, there's tons of charring and just degradation of that wood. And our fire investigator noted that there was up to 2 inches of self-leveling concrete, thin-set grout, and tile on top of this whole expanse of this open web flooring. You can imagine that was a lot of weight, an insane amount of weight. And there was also some heavy pieces of furniture on the ground floor there that would have fallen in. We're very fortunate that our Mayday firefighter was not incapacitated, that he didn't lose his radio. It could have been a much different outcome. So let's talk about management of the Mayday. So I knew from the beginning, as soon as it happened, I was like, I can't believe this is happening to me. Like, I can't believe that we have one of our members, someone that I'm responsible for, who is in this perilous situation. I knew that while I'm amped, understandably, in the command post and super worried, I knew that when I keyed that radio up, that I had to be calm on the radio because I knew some chaos was going to start ensuing. So I did what I could to try to stay calm on the radio to project that to everybody on the scene. My senior advisor was Bill Daniel, was East Deputy that day, and he helped me immensely to keep focus and to hit my benchmarks and keep me focused on what I needed to do. I was very grateful that he was there. I debated for a little bit before this about, do I need each deputy here? Do I need the command van here? But I just kept them going. It was easier just to keep them going than it was to cancel them. And I'm super grateful that I did not turn them around, because a nothing incident turned into something significant in a real hurry. And I was very glad those resources were there. My BSO was very helpful in tracking crews. When I needed to get a crew for rescue sector, he was on the spot, knew who was ready for assignment and was fresh and ready to go, just in case we needed some sort of alternate rescue plan. And my forward safety that day was really important to manage the chaos that was ensuing at the front door, with one of our firefighters is in trouble, and as you can imagine, everybody wants to help. Everybody wants to do something. Okay, so more about the forward safety here. Ryan Cadden was our safety that day. He was on Battalion 251, and he was on the northwest side of the building when the Mayday happened, and he immediately, when he heard it, he came to the front to help manage that rescue. Super important to have him there to manage freelancing that was beginning to happen and would likely happen to try to rescue our member. Everybody wants to help. So it was chaotic. You see there's firefighters frantically waving. They need things. There's the firefighters on the left side that are on the sidewalk. They were gearing up for battle. They want to help. They were going to go to rehab, but instead swap bottles. They want to be able to be utilized as necessary. And Chief Cadden was very instrumental in keeping everybody on task and not committing them to the interior until we had a disciplined plan. He found that it was hard to have a disciplined approach once crews were already working on the interior. The Mayday captain's crews already went in to try to help in any way they could. So he found that it was more productive and effective to support them and keep any new crews out. So some lessons learned here. So the initial reports from interior crews, they really set the tone. Threshold reports are super important. And I've talked to my captains and this first due captain about painting a really good picture for the incident commander, because he's the one that's going to make decisions, but he can only make decisions off information that he has. So when I heard reports that it was hot down there, I thought, okay, it's got to be somewhere other than just the attic. Perhaps it's on the first floor and it extended up into the attic. Never in my mind, especially with reports that I was getting that the basement wasn't involved. I wasn't worried about the basement. I was worried about the ground floor and the attic. So very important for you sector officers, when you're interior, paint a picture. If you have a bad feeling about something, tell command. If you don't think it's in the attic, hey, interior to command, this is my pecan report, and then let them know I don't think it's in the attic. It's got to be somewhere else. Basements should always be considered to have fire involvement until they've been searched. Any fire I have going forward where there's a basement, I'm going to assume it's in the basement unless someone gets eyes on the basement and proves to me that it's not there. As you can see from this fire, there was smoke showing in the attic space, but it was originating down in the basement, so anything's possible. Door control was a contributing factor to rapid growth. So the interior crew, it was so hot, they couldn't really push past very much. And so they're standing there in a bidirectional flow and basically a chimney. They're sitting in this chimney with super hot gases flowing past them. All of the crew members on the interior that had a tick, every single one of them recounted to me that they either reported that they thought their tick was broken or that their tick wasn't working properly because it was washed out. And so if you see that as a firefighter, your interior, your tick is washed out, that's pointing to some extreme temperatures that you're experiencing, and you should have a high index of suspicion that you're in a dangerous situation. And your TIC should not be used to check window wells for basement involvement. I mean, you can check if you happen to see like a heat signature or something on the wall. That's nice. But as we know, TICs don't see through glass, and even if you're looking at the frame of the window well, that room could be not the fire room, no fire in there at all. So you're not going to see any heat signature. So we need to make sure we somehow get down there through a stairwell or otherwise, just to check for that involvement. And PPE, we should just be wearing our PPE properly. Make sure that everything's secured. It's worn the way it's supposed to. Our ear flaps are down, and our chin strap is buckled and cinched tight so that our PPE is secured. In a Mayday, expect crews to self-assign until someone is there to instill a disciplined approach. We love to be calm on calls. We can be on a code with family freaking out, and we're super calm. But when it comes to our own members, sometimes we kind of lose sight of discipline. And so it's important to get somebody there fast. And luckily that day, safety, Battalion 251, I got there to try to bring some discipline. It may be more productive if you find yourself in the situation to support that initial crew that might be affecting a rescue and keep any new crews out, and just try to get an accountability of who all is inside. And it's also good to come up with some sort of alternative rescue plan, just in case that initial crew is unsuccessful or under-equipped. I was really grateful that Ladder 219 came up, and they said, hey, we got a clear window well on this east side, no fire in this room. If you can make it to the east side, we can get him out over here, which would have been great if for some reason the Mayday captain was incapacitated, broke his leg or whatever. We could have, in theory, carried him out that way. So that was good. One thing I'll never do again is I will never again have conversations about a potential strategy change back to offensive from defensive on the radio. If I ever feel that might be prudent, because we've all been on an incident where that occurred, where we went defensive and then we went back inside for one reason or another, I'm going to call safety, or I'm going to call whatever forward sector that I think I need to talk to, and I'm going to have them come face to face with me in the command post. And we're going to have that conversation one-on-one and come up with a plan without the rest of the fire scene hearing it. Because if they hear we might be going offensive, that might embolden them to say, hey, we're going offensive anyway, let's go in there. So let's avoid doing that. Also keep in mind that a Mayday that's transmitted from below ground, or any transmission from below grade, it may not be heard in the alarm room. As you heard from the recording in the video, it was really scratchy and kind of hard to hear. When that transmission was given on the scene that day, it was clear as a bell. Everybody heard it, super, super clear. And presumably it had enough signal strength to get through all of our radios on the scene, but it did not have enough reach to get to the repeater. So keep that in mind. I kind of waited for a sec for alarm room to drop emergency traffic tones, but I've realized after the fact now, when I was listening to the tapes, that they probably never even heard it at all, and that's why they didn't play them, and I had to call them and let them know when I balanced to a second. So if your view is blocked from your command post, consider relocating to a different apparatus. I remember thinking a couple times, like, I need to get out and go look. I can't see. I need to go out. But I was like, this is my command post. I'm supposed to stay here. Hindsight, I should have gone into the cab of the ladder or into the cab of engine 414 and had that be the new command post. Just let alarm know that I'm moving the command post to the cab of whatever apparatus. They have radios. They have everything that I need over there. So that would have been good, and I would have been able to have much better view and make better decisions from there. So that's it. That's all I have for you. if you would like a written copy of the report, you can scan this QR code to download it. And then I have my cell phone. Please don't call me in the middle of the night. And then I have my work email here as well. So if you have any questions or anything further, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm open, and I just want to make sure everybody learns the same lessons that we did this day and has some good takeaways, and we're safe going forward and support each other. Thank you, and stay safe out there.